morning, friends. Thunder Ridge Homestead here. I just thought I would do a video today. I started out like I do. So many of the tasks I do, I just get busy and start doing stuff. And then I realize, hey, you know, I bet somebody would like to see this on video and see what we're doing because they've never done it before. Sometimes I forget. I'm dressed up all fancy, as you can see in my holey shirt, working on some just catch-up household stuff. Last week we went to the processors and we picked up our beef steer, and one of the things that I requested when we got our beef steer was the suet. For those of you who do not know, suet is a special kind of fat, and it is found only one spot inside of an animal. It's around the kidneys, up in your back, in the back, and the kidneys are basically enveloped in the soot. The reason why I wanted the soot is because I make homemade soap, and soot can be rendered, which means basically melted, and it turns into a product called tallow. Tallow is a hard fat, and it is probably one of the main fats that's used commercially to make soap. If you look at a bar of soap, and not detergent bars, but soap, a lot of times the first ingredient will be called sodium tallowate, and that is what you get when you have tallow and you mix it with lye. So I just wanted to show you, take you along with this and let you see what we're doing, and you know, maybe teach you a thing or two. So here we go. Okay, first things first, when we went to the processors and I told them to keep the soot for me, this is what I got. There's actually two pieces. I've already got one piece up here in my bowl because I've started to work on it before I thought I should do a video, because like I said, that's how I operate. Basically all they did when they were cleaning the cow to turn it into steaks and burgers and all the other good parts that we eat is they just scooped this fat lob out of his back. And you can see what this is. It's just a great big chunk. Let's see if I can move it around. It's a great big chunk of fat. And this part was up in his back against his backbone. Basically, his backbone was in here someplace in the middle of these two pieces. If you see it, it's kind of a, there's kind of a paper stuff, I guess you'd call it, almost like a little membrane. Can you see this membrane that's on it? It's protecting it. It's like a papery membrane, and that's on that when it comes out of the animal. And like I said, this is the back part of it. And if you turn it over here, on this side, I hope you can see this. I tried to get you some light so you can see better. This is the inside of his body. And buried somewhere down in here are his kidneys, underneath all of this. The two kidneys, there's one on each side of his spinal cord, just like there is in a person. And that's where the kidneys are. Basically all I've done since I picked this up, like I said, about, I don't know, a weekend ago or something, is we've just been keeping it chilled. I've had it in a cooler in a box, and you know, haven't really done much with it. Fat will hold pretty well. It doesn't get rancid or anything as long as you keep it cool. It doesn't have to be frozen or anything like that. It's just been kept very cool in a cooler till I'm ready to start working with it. So now I'm going to try to see if I can show you what I'm doing so you can follow along. I take this, first of all, I've taken the second part of it, and I've got it in here in my bowl. Trying to see, get so you can see it. You can see in this, I've been trimming a little bit, and you can kind of see where the kidneys and stuff are. See this? That's the kidney. And I've been already taking pieces away, cutting it up with my big scissors and taking it apart. See, that's the kidney. That's the inside of it. This is the outside of it. Like I said, I've already been cutting on this one, and this is what I've been cutting on so far. And what I'm doing is I'm cubing it up, and I'm putting it into little chunks like that. And I'm putting those chunks in my crock pot because to me that's the easiest way to render fat. And then I have another little cup over here that I'm throwing all my little bits and bobs and weird stuff into as I sort through it. And I was just sitting here watching TV, you know, working away at this, chopping it up in little bitty pieces. Actually, watching YouTube channels, just so you know. But, you know, just taking care of business and doing stuff, and, you know, thought, hey, I better record this. So I'm going to try to set the camera up and see if I can get it so where you can see what I'm doing, and I'll let you, like, watch a little bit. Watch the process. Okay, hopefully I've got this moved around enough that you guys can see what's going on. Like I said, this is the chunks as I get them done. And this is what I'm kind of working on right now. I'm going through here and I'm picking out like these meaty bits, and I'm putting them over here in this cup. This is going to go to chickens. The chickens will love this stuff. And like I said, the whole purpose of this fat in the first place is to render it into tallow so that I can make soap out of it. And I'm just taking my big scissors and I'm kind of cutting, and then I'm pulling. And you can see right here is the kidney. That's the kidney. So I'm pulling it apart. And if this is fresh enough to suit you and so forth, you can definitely eat beef kidneys. One of the most famous recipes they make out of them is called steak and kidney pie. And you use basically beef, like round steak or something like that, cut it into little pieces, or cut stew meat into little pieces, and then you cut up the kidneys into small bits and make it like a chicken pot pie type thing where you do the vegetables and potatoes and whatnot. And it's really delicious. I've made it before. I'm not going to do that this time. This time this is just going to go strictly, I'm going to feed it to my dogs. They will love this. And like I said, between the dogs and the chickens, any waste bits will be taken care of. But you just have to work slowly, kind of peel and pull, and you can separate this beef kidney out from the tallow, or the suet is what it would really be called at this point. And as you can see, suet fat is different than regular, like you'd think of as fat in meat, like, you know, like the piece of fat around a steak or something like that, because it's like real brittle. But this is what the beef kidney looks like. And like I said, it's perfectly fresh. I could eat it if I wanted to, but my dogs will love this, so that's who's going to get this one. So I'm going to put this in a container for the dogs and, you know, fix that up for them. I probably will actually cook it for them because, well, basically my dogs are spoiled. So for right now, I'm just going to put it over here in the box with the other piece. And what I'm left with now is more of this beef suet. And it's spelled S-U-E-T, suet. And you can see it's like a real hard fat. It's real hard, and it has a different, when you're making soap, it gives the soap, actually it kind of feels like soap. You know how soap has kind of that hardness to it, like if you get a chunk of soap, that's kind of what it feels like. So I'm just going through here and I'm taking all the weird bits out of it, peeling any of that papery skin stuff away from it, and just putting the little crumbles over here right into my crock pot. And like I said, typically speaking, when I'm doing a job like this, I just turn the TV on, you know, put some YouTube channels or something on and just watch and take care of it. Now, like, that bit is gross, but my chickens will love it. This is the same with this piece. Anything that looks meaty or gooby or, you know, not just clean white fat, any of that stuff is just, I consider it waste. All of that will go for my chickens, and they will love, love, love it. especially in wintertime, feeding your chickens something like some beef suet or, you know, leftover fat from meat that you trim, meat trimmings and stuff. It's really good for chickens because, you know, they are omnivores and they will kind of, you know, eat all kinds of things. But in the wintertime, it's a good source of energy for them when it's really cold outside. But they like it in the spring too, so it's good either way. Okay, so now I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going through here, and like this has kind of got a lot of red to it. I'm just kind of taking my scissors, and I use scissors a lot more than I use a knife because of my arthritis. But I'll go through and I'll trim until I've got most of the discolored looking stuff off of this. And it really doesn't matter if you leave the discolored on it. You can clean it up by just boiling it in water and then letting it chill, and the fat will come to the top of the water. But I just don't like to bother with all that, so I try to kind of be picky as I'm putting it into the crock pot to start off with. But if you look, when you pull it, I don't know if you can see on this camera how we've got like a skin, or a membrane, I guess you would call it. See this membrane that's coming around? And if I pull the membrane, this fat is just cubing into like these big chunks. See how I did that? And those are the chunks that I'm going through, and like I said, I'm scraping the pinky stuff off of them. Probably repeating myself 50,000 times. I'm just kind of scraping the dirtiest part of it off, or most contaminated, I would say. And then once it's pretty clean, it goes in my pot. So that's all there is to it. See how nice those pieces come off? Just in chunks. And any of that membrane is going over in my chicken pile. And the smell, it has a mild smell, but it's not like if you're handling hamburger or something. It doesn't smell that beefy. It's just kind of a mild fat smell, I guess you'd say. It's not stinky at all. Kind of an interesting texture to handle. That's just what we're doing. Okay, so now we have it in the crock pot, and it's on low, and we're just going to let it simmer and cook. Here we are, about midway, a little past midway through the point. The beef suet has been in the crock pot. You saw what it looked like, kind of white and soft, and, you know, like little hard chunks. And we've been having it in the crock pot, and it's been on low. Let's see if I can get it in here where I can see what it is. And you can see how it's like cooking, basically, kind of like you would think of cooking bacon or something, but it's cooking. And I put it on yesterday afternoon and cooked it down, and kept taking my little, got a colander and my little dipper here, and we would put the colander in the bowl, the metal bowl, and dip it out and pour the grease so that any meat or anything didn't come in, and put it into this metal bowl, and it's just sitting here to cool. Now, this is something, if you have children or other people in your house, you really have to make sure that they know this is a bowl of, you know, hot fat. Stay away from it. But I let this cool down until it's room temperature. It's still liquidy, but it'll kind of start whitening up a little bit. And at that point, then I can put it in a, you know, I usually put it in like a Ziploc bag or something. And, you know, when it's cool enough, it's not going to melt the Ziploc bag. And then I, you know, chill it and in another container and let it go until it's cold. And then we can seal the Ziploc bag and label it properly and put it in the freezer. So this is the way we're doing it. And like I said, you know, I've just been basically, if I move this to the side, you can see the fat down in there, the liquidy fat. And that is the tallow. That is the tallow that we're after. You can see that liquidy fat down in there. We just keep straining it and straining it and straining it. And this is the solids. There will be solids left when you're all done. You know, good for chickens, good for stuff. But you're trying to cut as much fat out of it as possible. Another thing I want to say is, I cooked it yesterday afternoon until I went to bed. And at that point, I unplugged the crock pot. I do not feel comfortable leaving a crock pot full of basically flammable grease plugged in overnight. So it was unplugged and I just left it sit. It's fat. It's not going to go rancid overnight. And then we got that taken care of and plugged it back in this morning and have more of the oil out of it. And I'll show you what the tallow looks like when we get it ready. Okay. So this is the tallow, and this is the bowl that I had the tallow in. I put the Ziploc bag into the bowl, you know, set it up in the bowl, and when the melted tallow was room temperature, plenty cool enough that it's not going to melt my bag, I poured it in really slowly till I got the bag full, zipped the top of the bag with the zip top, and then, you know, if you can see, it like lays down in this bowl and fits in there. And then I put it in the refrigerator until it's chilled, and it's hard. It's a big hard block of fat now. And now that it's chilled into this block, it is perfect. I can store it in the deep freeze from this point on, and then the next time we're ready to make soap, I can just chunk it off and weigh it for my soap recipe. Or they also make candles out of tallow. They do several other things out of tallow. So anything you would need the tallow for as a raw ingredient, there it is. You can see, I'm sure by looking, it's just clean and white and pure looking. It's very nice. It takes time to do it as far as hours, but as far as taking like a lot of effort to do it, it really doesn't, since I just put it in the crock pot and let it go. The main thing is you want to keep track of your crock pot. You want to make sure that it doesn't overheat, so you always do it on low. And you want to keep dipping that melted fat out and allowing it to cool so that you don't have a whole big, you know, pot full of fat that can catch on fire. It works really good, easy to do. And like I said, just trying to get a recording so you guys can see how to do this. You know, hopefully that helps you, and hopefully you've learned something. So I'm glad I remembered to take you guys along on this journey with me, and now you guys know how to render beef soot into pure tallow so that you can use the tallow for soap making or any other thing. I hope you enjoyed it, coming along with me on this journey, and if you like it, hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe if you like more video content like this. And I'll see you next one, guys. Thanks for coming along. Bye-bye.